Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Florence. Your leadership, Howard's leadership, Abby and Todd's leadership, especially on the subject of education, is something that we should all follow rapidly. And thank you for those kind words. It's a little much, almost. And thank you, Gunnar. Yeah, almost. And thank you, Gunnar. That was his great-grandfather was, both of them were preachers, okay? And you can see that it's kind of in the DNA there. But I appreciate the words. I mean, this is an unbelievable honor to get praise like this and to be honored like this, especially for a purpose that we're here for tonight. This is such an important project for the city of Dallas. And Mickey and I are blown away at how many close friends are here tonight. The quantity and the quality is something I haven't seen for such a long time. We appreciate it. Your love and support as we are your public servants is much appreciated. And I want to tell you, Mickey is the upstander in our house. I mean, she stands up every time I come in and tells me what I need to do. So, and thank you for that. Thank you. It's a great evening, and we've got to get this museum built. We really do, okay? This city can do it, and I have no doubt about it. But the purpose is bigger than that. And it reminds me of when I was 19 years old. I was able to visit Dachau, the Nazi concentration camp in Bavaria, opened in 1933 by Himmler, where Jews, European dissidents, Russians, and homosexuals were imprisoned and killed throughout the end of the war. Now, as killing camps went, it was really in the minor leagues, but it was scary enough for me. For the first time, a protected young man came face to face through film, photos, and the camp itself with the self-destructive horror and evil in which we, the human race, participated. I use the term we purposefully because it is in using the word we that we are forced to face our role in the Holocaust, then and possible Holocaust tomorrow, and start to unravel the answer to the all-important question the museum will ask of Dallas and asks today. How is a tragic piece of history relevant to me today? How does knowing about the Holocaust make me happier, healthier, wealthier, wholer? I suggest by trying to understand who we are and how we see our usness, I then will better understand myself, and I can better shape the things that are important to me. For Holocaust survivors here tonight, they were there. They were the we. For some, it's a close family member that was lost, and the pain is very, very personal. They knew who the we were. For most of us, though, the connection is not as close, or it may not be there at all. We might say, well, besides being human like Germans and Austrians and other Europeans, I had nothing to do with this atrocity. I didn't, and my family didn't. While probably true, just be a little bit careful. In getting a piece of mail last year from a distant relative that was into genealogy, I found out that one of my great-great-grandfathers was a slave owner in Texas. Part of the 350,000 owners in America of more than 4 million slaves. So somehow my life, my being here tonight, was built on a terribly flawed moment of the United States and of capitalism. I'm sorry, though, I digress. Slavery was different than the Holocaust, wasn't it? Let's get back to our subject. The next reaction is to say they, the Nazis, were evil and bad and not like me. Probably true as well. But I suggest that simple Tarzan-like dialect of me good, you bad, doesn't help us really understand and answer the question of the Holocaust's relevance. It just makes us kind of feel good. It doesn't help us understand why neighbors have continued to horribly turn on neighbors and commit genocide, whether they're in the killing fields of Cambodia, the cities of Rwanda, the countryside of Yugoslavia, the south side of Chicago and other cities, the schools, or the public places in suburbia United States, or even today in Syria. The usness of those places were broken. I think of the usness of Dallas a lot, because at the core, it's really all we have. Are we the type of city where residents could turn on residents, even if it's in smaller numbers? Well, seeing the gun-toting protesters in front of the Irving Mosque says it's possible. Seeing the scene when one street gang turns on another and kills each other, and innocent bystanders as well, says, yes, it's possible. Seeing crimes in the Oak Lawn area, populated by the members of the LGBT community, feeling like they have targets on their chests, says it's possible. Could a crazed young man shoot up one of our schools or our churches? You and I both know it's possible. But once again, I digress. These scary thoughts are nothing like the Holocaust, are they? At least to those that didn't die, lose their dignity, or lose the ones they loved. And our broken usness becomes apparent when pollsters ask us, do we want to let Syrian refugees into our country? Well, the majority of Americans say no. And I'm sure the number in Texas is even greater. It reminds me of the poll that showed that 61% of Americans didn't want to let Jewish refugees in the United States before World War II. Now, I understand we are afraid, and fear can be healthy and life-saving at times. But it cannot create a broken usness where fear of each other turns to animosity, turning to deep-seated abhorrence. Here, my friends, I don't digress. That is exactly what happened in Germany before the Holocaust. At that point, the question is our hope for our humanity, our hope for society, is a question that is no longer academic but existential. The great Jewish philosopher Martin Buber articulated his hope for humanity, his hope for society, when he said, "I believe that the key to creating a society that is nourishing, empowering, and healing for everyone lies in how we relate to one another." Really pretty simple. Nourishing, empowering, and healing for everyone. Sounds like those foundational words in our Declaration of Independence, speaking of humanity's inherent and inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Buber wrote in his masterpiece, I, Thou, suggesting that by elevating one another, the other person, each of us are then also elevated. And in so doing, we live out our divine calling. When we minimize, marginalize, and demonize the other, even our enemy, then just the opposite happens. We do the same to ourselves. In short, it is through our relationship with the other that we define ourselves, our usness, and therefore define our society, our city. That is why we must face the question of the we in the Holocaust, because the seeds for our future society are in our hands. We can sow the seeds for future small and large Holocaust, or we can sow the seeds of milk and honey and that promised land. Buber would say those seeds are the moments we face the other in our lives, and then we become us. This morning I read the story about Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, who will be receiving Israel's highest honor for non-Jews, risking their lives for Jews. As a POW in World War II Nazi concentration camp, Edmonds was asked at gunpoint to identify the Jewish members of his American troops. Facing death, he ordered 1,000 fellow captives to step forward with him, and he said, "We are all Jews here." Master Sergeant Edmonds clearly understood that the word we and what the word we meant on that day. We must remember that call as Jews all over this world are still persecuted. We are all Jews here. As I was walking through Dachau that day, somehow I felt that time was not a relevant dimension. And I imagined being there in the 30s and 40s. I didn't know if I was an inmate, prison guard, or town member. Somehow it didn't matter, but I was part of the we that day that changed me forever. I made a promise to myself that if I ever got a chance, I would bring back my children to see this place. 20 years later, I got that chance and took my daughter, Michelle, to visit it. Gunnar was much too young. It was a great, great, great gift I gave her that day. She, also a protected young woman, started to wake up to the evil potential that we all have inside of us that day. That's what studying history does. But my story and my daughter's stories are not typical. We had the resources to visit an out of the way small town in southern Germany. But every young man and every young woman in Dallas needs to experience that aha moment that my daughter had that day. Through the building of this museum, I believe they will be able to do just that. And by doing so, a thread of unity will be woven into the fabric of the usness of Dallas, and we will create a stronger, a warmer, and a wiser city because of your effort. From the citizens of Dallas, I want to say thank you for making that a reality. God bless you.